Welcome back to Bible History Unfolded, the place where ancient truths meet modern life. Today's message dives into a verse that many have heard quoted or seen framed on a wall but may not have fully understood in the rawness of their personal journey. We're talking about Ecclesiastes 3:1, which says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." It's a powerful declaration, simple, poetic, yet profoundly deep. But what does it really mean when you're stuck in suffering, asking God, why now, why me, or how much longer? This verse becomes more than just words when it's measured against real pain, especially when God's timing feels out of sync with your need for relief. Let's explore the divine collision between God's timing and your pain. Ecclesiastes was written by King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, and someone who understood the rhythm of life better than most. He had seen wealth, power, love, and despair. His words in Ecclesiastes are not shallow proverbs, they're seasoned reflections after a life full of both victories and regrets. When he writes that everything has a season, he isn't dismissing our pain, but revealing that life flows in cycles set and allowed by God. Your pain has not caught God by surprise. Your heartbreak, your disappointment, your confusion, they are all known, timed, and contained by a sovereign hand. Let's be honest, waiting is hard, especially when we're hurting. You might be waiting for healing, a job, a child, restoration in your marriage, or peace after a devastating loss. The pain of that waiting can feel like a slow suffocation. You cry out to God, but the heavens seem silent. You pray, but there's no immediate change. You fast, but the answer delays. It's here, in this wilderness of delay, that Ecclesiastes 3:1 becomes a lifeline. It reminds us that life isn't random. There's a time to every purpose. Even when your situation feels purposeless, God is working. Even when your tears blur your vision, God sees clearly. Even when you're breaking, He's building something eternal, but here's the rub: God's timing rarely matches ours. We are people of the now. We want instant resolution, instant healing, instant understanding. God, however, operates from the standpoint of eternity. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end all at once. His timing isn't just about when, it's about who you are becoming in the process. Pain is rarely wasted in God's economy. In fact, it is often the very soil where your greatest growth happens. He uses it to refine you, not to destroy you. He delays not to punish you, but to prepare you. Think of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned for years. At any point, Joseph could have asked, God, where are you? And maybe he did. But God's timing was aligning Joseph with a purpose far greater than he could imagine. In the end, Joseph stood as second in command over Egypt, saving not just a nation but his own family from famine. The years of pain were not pointless. They were perfectly timed steps in a divine plan. Joseph's suffering had a season, and so does yours. Jesus himself lived this principle. Though he was the Son of God, he waited 30 years before beginning his ministry. And even during his time on earth, he constantly said things like, "My time has not yet come," John 2:4, and "It is not for you to know the times or the dates the Father has set by his own authority," Acts 1:7. Even Christ submitted to the timing of the Father. His greatest pain, Gethsemane and the cross, was also the greatest act of redemption. It had to happen in God's appointed time. Not a moment earlier, not a second late. You may be in your own Gethsemane right now. The weight is unbearable. The night is long, you've prayed for the cup to pass. But maybe God is saying, not yet. There's a purpose in this. Trust me, this is where faith moves from theory to reality. Faith isn't believing God will do what you want, when you want it. Faith is believing He is good even when He doesn't. Faith is holding on to Him when your hands are trembling and your heart is bleeding. Ecclesiastes 3 doesn't just talk about a time for joy. It also mentions a time to weep, a time to mourn, a time to lose. These seasons are not contradictions to God's goodness. They are the very context in which His goodness is proven. There is beauty in brokenness. There is power in surrender. And there is redemption in delay. Don't measure God's faithfulness by how quickly He fixes your pain. Measure it by how deeply He walks with you through it. Asterisk, we live in a culture of immediacy. But God's kingdom often moves at the speed of process. The world says, push forward, take control, don't wait. God says, be still, know that I am God, and wait on me. Isaiah 40-31 says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. That doesn't mean you sit idle, it means you stay spiritually expectant, knowing that God is always on time. The waiting room of life may feel like a prison, but it's actually a place of preparation. And when the appointed time comes, nothing can stop God's hand. Asterisk, remember, Ecclesiastes doesn't say that every moment feels good, but that every moment has a purpose. Your pain has a time limit. It is not eternal. It will pass. The same God who allowed it has already scheduled your deliverance. In fact, some of the greatest blessings of your life will come not in the absence of pain, but because of it. Pain will introduce you to strength you never knew you had, to intimacy with God you never thought possible, and to testimonies that can set others free. Asterisk, maybe you're wondering right now, why hasn't God answered? The answer is, He has, just not in the way you expected. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. His no today might be preparing you for a greater yes. Tomorrow, Ecclesiastes 3-1 is not just a poetic verse. It's a promise. A promise that your life is not a random series of events, but a divinely orchestrated story written by the author who knows the end from the beginning. And in his story, nothing is wasted. Asterisk, so hold on, even when you don't understand, even when you're tired, even when your heart aches. God is not finished yet. Your season will change. The storm will pass, the sun will rise, and when it does, you'll look back and see that God's timing wasn't a curse, it was a covering. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. You'll see how every tear watered a seed. Every heartbreak shaped your purpose. Every delay was a divine redirection. In the end, you won't just thank Him for the blessings, you'll thank Him for the timing. Asterisk, this is Bible History Unfolded. And as always, we explore the truth of God's Word not just to inform your mind, but to ignite your heart. If this message touched you today, share it with someone who's in a season of waiting. Remind them there's a time for everything, and that includes healing, joy, and restoration. God is never late. He's just preparing something greater. Keep the faith and watch what He does in His perfect time. Asterisk.